Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue this Killer Island 1980s horror movie month, talking these strange island lands, talking this out to sea creatures that could be laying on these islands, or any kind of magical demons laying waste to these inhabited islands of doom. Up next, if y'all like witchy green negative horror, alright, if y'all like the great John Saxon without a shirt on multiple times, and if y'all like devil dolls hanging around, giving the power of green light splattered to their eyes, and if y'all like capitalism, then this is the film for you. Because the Retro Blood is talking all about Beyond Evil. J.H. Alison, James Kline, what's happening, Alison? How was your Beyond Evil experience happening here?
Man, this was something. John Saxon was in it. I can say that.
Yeah,
I love anything with John Saxon.
Exactly.
Man, what a fantastic.
Man. So, yeah, this one was a little interesting, I would say, on here. This was like showing you like early 1980s effects. You know what I mean? If you could call it that. A lot of negative on there.
I think this was like barely 1980s effects. Like,
they were using that Star Wars thing where they show up on screen. You know what I mean?
Star Wars was way better than this. This was like literal, like, I don't even know what to say. Like the eye beams at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
They were like
the Cyclops.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like they're made like they're just animated onto the film.
Well, probably.
Like, I mean, like they're just hand drawn, like animation. Like that's how they did like the phaser effects in Star Trek in like 1966. Yeah. Like they would just like scratch onto the film and then they would animate over it.
Yeah.
And that's how they did that. And I'm pretty sure that's how these were made. But they weren't even like, they just appeared. Like, I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to say. Like they didn't like fade in or anything to make it look nice. They just like appeared on the screen and like, this represents eye lasers.
Yes.
And yeah,
here's our eye lasers, man. Come on.
I'm pretty sure the most extensive thing in this movie was John Saxon.
Was it him taking his shirt off multiple times? Did they pay him extra for that?
They had to pay him extra for that. Yeah,
that's true.
Sure
you know what I mean?
Mm.
So, they had a couple of the... I thought at first this was going to be the voodoo magic, but it was like Islander magic, I guess.
I guess so,
a witchy descent on there. But yeah, like the green, it's just pretty funny seeing like, so they had the green negative on there, plus they had the drawn in lasers, but they also had the like echo speaking that I guess at the time was like creepy. You know what I mean?
Right. I guess so. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, scary. She's talking in double.
They had echo speaking and they had voice modulation, so her voice would appear way lower than it was supposed to be.
But this is like
this stuff.
This is like early like 80s. You know what I mean? So like a lot of these like horror movie tropes things were in here, but it was for the time it was probably pretty new. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just thought some of it was like hilarious because like this movie was supposed to be called Beyond Evil. Like, what the hell was even evil about it? Like the only thing evil about it, all right, was that devil doll just showing up and like he tried to throws it out and it comes back.
I was about to say the devil toy was evil. Like it had but yeah, it had the trope of like you have a devil toy or a devil doll or a devil statue or whatever, and you throw it away and then it shows back up again.
Yeah.
But it was so like thing looked like it was literally made out of paper mache. Like the thing was so cheap that like I don't know. It just, I mean, they made a movie. I applaud them for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't terrible.
They made something.
But, I mean, I've seen worse movies than this. We've done worse movies on the show before.
Yeah, like we'll talk about it pretty soon, but I couldn't find too much about the actual film of why this shit was made. I'm guessing just to give, John Saxon a payday. I don't know. But we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
There's a couple fun stuff about it. But everybody, like I said, this 1980s Islander month is rolling on. So this has been a very interesting month. Like, I don't think I'm like digging a lot of these like island movies, Like, I mean, like some of them have been kind of like a dud a little bit. And go ahead.
I was gonna say we started off with The Fog. We started off with the best one.
Exactly.
Like if we'd done the month in reverse, I think it would have been better.
Probably. But like
if we were doing The Fog today instead of doing it the first week and done this the first week.
Yeah. Well, like this one was actually a last minute replacement because we said on the last week's show we're going to be doing Spasms, but I couldn't find it, and I don't even know if that shit even fits the theme. I guess when I looked it up before, I thought it did. But I found this one because this one has been on my radar for quite a while because it's on the Peacock. And I was seeing it, and like I was reading to find some replacement. I was like, oh shit! Like From Beyond, it has John Saxon in it. It has that other girl. I get her name here in a little bit, but she was in there too. I was like, okay, this could be pretty fun, and like it looks pretty funny because when you saw the preview, they show you like the old the Alma lady coming back and taking their souls and shit like that. Very early 80s. Yes. But like what I've been noticing about these Islander films, 80% of the movie is there's some drama going on. And then 20% is, okay, everybody's dying now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I feel like a lot of these island movies were made for a couple of reasons. Like, I think one of them was made because it was either cheap to go to this island to make a movie.
Yeah.
Or they wanted to go on vacation to wherever this island was, and they decided they used the movie as an excuse for that. I don't know. I mean, this was filmed in the Philippines.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that the Philippines was probably cheap to film in 1980, which is why this was made there. Island movies also keep them tied to a place, so it gives them a reason for them not to be able to escape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because so many of these movies are like, why don't they just get in a car and drive away? But you're trapped on an island, so you can't.
And this one, you were trapped in a haunted mansion on the island.
Mansion.
The
There's
only
always
mansion.
a haunted mansion on the island.
There's always one on the mountain. You know what I mean? On the island. All right, so let's get into some of the history stuff. We do this every episode of the Retro Blood. Because we like to give you guys a gift. Because when you're out there traveling on these remote islands, you just don't want to see sand and water. You know what I mean? You want to see, killer voodoo magic. You want to see some backstories of witches dabbling in devil music and stuff, or devil stuff. You want to see some zombies. So we give you more here on the Retro Blood. We give you more of what you want. So the first thing I want to talk about is what was going on in the world of the pro wrestling. All right. So this movie came out on a very unfortunate day for it. It came out on May 9th, 1980. And Alison, do you know what came out on this exact same day? I'll give a little trivia for you. See if you remember.
Oh, I don't. What does it have to do with? Give me a hint.
It has to do with one of the most popular films in horror movie history. And we talk about it, and we see so many copies of this movie after it was released.
Friday the 13th.
You got it.
The
original Friday the 13th came out on this exact same day, May 9th, 1980. So think about it.
Wow.
When you're going to the theater, you can see beyond evil.
Yeah.
It's evil that's beyond itself. It's not evil itself, but it's beyond that evil.
It's beyond evil. Yeah, it's more evil than evil.
I mean, your evil brain can't even comprehend how evil this movie was. Okay?
Exactly.
Or you could see
beyond evil.
Or you could see Friday the 13th. Come on, brother. I know it's taking my mind. You could see a young Kevin Bacon getting stabbed, or you could see a primed and ready John Saxon take his shirt off multiple times, brother. All right?
Yeah,
Come on
well, John
now.
Saxon's going to win that one for sure.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
don't know who Kevin Bacon is yet, right?
Yeah, we don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, we don't.
Who did he ever beat?
Right? Well, he not anybody yet.
Yes.
But the thing about this is I could see these movies playing at the same time, and people choosing to see Beyond Evil, but Friday the 13th probably did better. Yeah. Well, I'm sure it did.
Had better marketing.
Because Paramount was behind it, and it had trailers on television.
Yeah.
So this movie probably didn't have trailers on television, I'm guessing.
No.
But this movie probably played in the theaters that couldn't get Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing too. So one thing I want to talk about, I don't know if we talked about this as much on the pro wrestling side, but I think it's pretty interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So, wrestling magazines, okay, which we have talked about a little bit here before, but I thought this one was pretty interesting. So this one comes from the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. This is the May 1980s edition of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Okay. And, obviously during the 80s, it's not like you can just go on your, you can go on your phone, the intranet, and figure out what's going on in the world of the pro wrestling. You know what I mean? A lot of times you would have to do it by radio maybe, or like magazines most of the time.
Yes.
So, and actually, that was actually there for a long periods of time too, because even in the 90s, when I was a very big fan of pro wrestling, like even 1998, 1999, the internet wasn't like the fastest thing ever. You know what I mean? Like it still takes a while. So I was still getting a lot of my early information from the magazines as well too during this particular, even in the 90s. I would still get, from Pro Wrestling Illustrated or the WWE magazine, the Raw magazine. I would get it all from there. So,
yeah, I would say that until about maybe 1999. Well, it's hard for me to say because 1998, 99 is when I came back to wrestling. So I wasn't really trying to research much wrestling before then. But yeah, in 1999 or 2000 is when I first started discovering wrestling websites, which I believe the ECW website was maybe the first wrestling website I ever went to.
Yeah.
It was like ecwwrestling.com, and you could go there to look for shows, to see what shows they were playing. And but yeah, you're right. So like wrestling magazines were like wrestling internet before the internet existed, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I thought this one's pretty interesting. So remember, everybody, this is 1980, May of 1980.
Yeah.
So on the cover, it said, "Did Greg Valentine return too soon?"
From
he might have been like
ear thing.
Yeah, the ear thing. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Something happened. I don't remember what was going on with him, but something's happened during this time.
Yeah.
We are on the front cover of this is actually Dusty Rhodes back suplexing Harley Race, and then we do have a picture of the Incredible Hulk Hogan. So 3 big figures of the 1980s, all in this wrestling magazine, really early 1980s.
Yeah,
so
and it says Incredible Hulk Hogan on it.
Yes.
Okay,
so
that's awesome.
There's a couple of things that stood out to me. That's why I wanted to talk about it. The first thing was, it says the Incredible Hulk Hogan, and a quote from the Incredible Hulk Hogan on this magazine.
Oh,
I will control wrestling in the 1980s.
Wow.
I mean,
wow. He was right.
Nowadays we hear a bunch of Hulk Hogan quotes and it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most of the time, or it's all like just made up shit. You know what I mean? But boy, back in 1980, Hulk Hogan, he was spot on. All right.
Yeah, that was wow. That's prophetic. Like it's him like telling the future. Like he would control wrestling in the 80s, and he was damn right about that.
Because he was a big figure at this time, but he was a big figure. Just like he was kind of like a pretty big heel for the WWF around this time.
Yeah.
So he hasn't made it to. He hasn't even done Rocky 3 yet.
I was about to say this is before Rocky 3. So yeah.
Another thing that stood out was a special investigation. All right. Because of this match Harley Race must be stripped of the title.
What did he do?
So it didn't really say it on here, but basically Harley Race is basically like cheating. He cheated in his match against Dusty Rhodes to win, so that's why they think he should be stripped of the title. All right. So then we have on the bottom, Frunk Jr. versus Murdoch. The loser must retire. So cool little stories, guy. Yeah, cool
I was
little
gonna say,
stories.
that's kind of cool. That's like interesting, like time in wrestling. Dusty Rhodes versus Harley Race.
Yes.
Hogan telling us he's going to take over wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean that was cool. I mean that's a cool time. I love Hogan's look during this time. Is he wearing the glasses on the cover? Like the big glasses?
No. He's basically on this cover right here. He basically is just showing off he has white trunks and he has the cape. Remember he used to come out with that purple cape?
Yes. Yeah, I love the cape.
So he's come out
love
with
the cape.
So pretty cool stuff. Oh yeah, I think you got one right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I got it right here. So I'll grab it for the people. So
all right. Yeah, like this one is not one on this cover. That's the one where he's in a singlet, but it's very
this
close.
Is a singlet. Seeing the people see this, but yeah, he's wearing the cape and that.
Yeah, it's the cape on there
during this era.
Yeah, so, the incredible Hulk Hogan era.
Yeah,
pretty wild.
I love this figure.
So, but I think I want to share something on here. I think y'all might enjoy this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, I was collecting a lot of wrestling magazines in the the 90s. Okay. So I remember this one. I might have said this on here before, but for all of our new listeners or on video, I'll say it again because it is a pretty funny story. So at the time, I was collecting those Raw magazines because, like I said, at the time, I'm not going on I didn't even know what Wrestling Observer was. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just got a lot of my wrestling insights through getting the Raw magazine. And of course, I'm a young chap at this time, you know what I mean? I'm a young man.
Right.
So I got the, every once in a while in those Raw magazines, you would have Terry would be on there. Sable will be on there.
Yeah. Like,
you know what I mean there? So this particular magazine that I brought to school with me was the Raw magazine, the one with Sable. No. Actually, it was the one with Deborah, and she was holding up two puppies to cover up her titties. That's like the front cover. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure that went over really well at school.
So I'm bringing it, and during wood class, we'd have a 30-minute break or whatever. So I wanted to read my my magazine to get the headlines and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's why you're reading it. I'm sure.
So I'm trying to hide it a little bit because I know the front cover is a little risque for bringing it at school. And I probably was 15 at this time. I was probably 14, 15. So I'm hiding everything, right? And I'm reading my stuff, but I got I remember this vividly. All right, because the wood, this class or whatever it was. I don't know if it was wood chipper class, but it was some sort of math class I was in, and the tables were kind of really high up, so you could get you could draw your symmetrics or whatever like that. So I'm hiding my magazine between I'm hiding my magazine between my math stuff. All right, and I'm reading the articles. And this teacher, who I don't know if he had it against me or whatever, but he was kind of a dick. He just grabs while I'm reading it, he just grabs my magazine. All right. And I'm oh shit. So he's grabbing it and he's looking through it and he looks at the cover. And he starts to show the whole class the cover of what I was reading with Deborah with the little puppies right there. He's you're reading this. Look at everybody. He's reading this. And at the time, I'm a shy kid. You know what I mean? I'm not a personality like I am right now. As a shy kid, I was oh shit, what the fuck? And I don't remember exactly what he said to me, but he's all I think he was saying I can't be reading this smut in class. Here you go. And everybody's laughing at me and shit like that, just embarrassing fucking crazy, man. And I was God damn it, I just wanted to read my fucking wrestling news, okay? It's not my fault that I had a fucking Deborah with her fucking titties on there. Not my fault, brother. So
that's an amazing story. Why didn't you just put it inside another magazine? Take a Sports Illustrated or something and put it inside that magazine.
I should have.
Then you can just hold it up. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Nah, at the time, bro, I was just I can hide it. I'll be okay. and that did not work out for me at all. So
it did not. It did not.
But that's I've collected like a shit ton. I still have a lot of wrestling magazines from the past. I'm pretty sure I still even have that particular wrestling magazine on me too, because like for a long time, especially if you grew up in the 80s or the 90s and stuff, to get a lot of your wrestling news, the magazines were a huge thing.
Yeah. I'd like to find some of those.
Yeah.
I bet you could get a collection of those that aren't real expensive, but I would like to find some of those like really early 80s wrestling magazines.
Yes.
That'd be cool to see.
Yeah. So it was definitely a trip. Just remember, don't bring them all to school.
Don't bring them all to school. Yeah.
Pick and choose. Pick and choose the ones you could bring to school. All right.
Yeah. If any of you youngsters are listening to our explicit podcast, do not bring your wrestling magazines to school.
Exactly. All right, Alison, what we got going on in the metal music?
So this was a little tough because we have spent a whole lot of time in the first half of 1980.
Yeah, we have a lot.
And I was trying to find something that we have not talked about. I was thinking, well, we could talk about Judas Priest, British Steel, but we've talked about that before. Yeah. So what I decided to talk about is we're going to talk about Saxon again.
Hey, it works.
Saxon's, it works. And we haven't talked about this album. So Saxon's second album, Wheels of Steel, came out right around the time of this movie. It was kind of not a departure, but it was a furthering of their sound. Like if you listen to the first Saxon album, it still sounds kind of like Led Zeppelin a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like Wheels of Steel kind of moved them on into what we think of as the new wave of British heavy metal. New wave of British heavy metal was about to take off. I guess it had probably taken off at this point. Like the bands were starting to get big. They weren't underground anymore. Iron Maiden came out of that group, Raven, Diamond Head. We've talked about these bands before. Motorhead was probably the first big new wave of British heavy metal band that came out and got popular. One of the early ones to form too. But I was going to talk about the new wave of British heavy metal a little bit too, because we've talked about it. We could probably go through our podcast and put together like an omnibus of the history of British heavy metal, but of the new wave of British heavy metal. But as we talked about before, these bands were kind of what influenced Metallica to be Metallica. Metallica would not exist if it had not been for the new wave of British heavy metal. But basically, like in England in the 70s and the mid 70s, like there was a lot of unemployment. Kids didn't have jobs. They couldn't get jobs. They're all living on welfare, public housing, things like that. And that's where punk came from. But punk burned out really, really quick. It was only really around for a couple of years. But the new wave of British heavy metal started in about 75 to 78 or so, where it was really underground. And then 79, 80s when it started to break out in the mainstream with just, it's metal, but it's also, how would I put this? It's also punk. It's like punk. It doesn't sound like punk, but they had the punk ethos, if you will. Like they were all like do it yourself. Like they would go in, they weren't recording in big expensive studios. They were recording in cheap studios or recording themselves or things like that and putting out records like that. And the bands had good producers like Martin Birch producing Iron Maiden. Those guys made it, and the guys that didn't have good producers didn't, is basically how I see it, how it seemed to have worked. But they were starting to break out. It was faster. It was like the double time snare, not blast beats, but the faster snare and hi-hat and the double bass and stuff that Metallica would take a couple years later to be what they became. But at this time, they were starting to break out in the mainstream, and Saxon was a leading light of new wave of British heavy metal at this time, because Iron Maiden was about to put out their first album. Now, obviously, Iron Maiden would way surpass Saxon a couple of years from then. 3 years from then, they would far out surpass Saxon. But Saxon was like the band that got all this started. And they released Wheels of Steel, which like I said before, was kind of like their it kind of defined what Saxon sounded like. So Saxon sounds like Wheels of Steel to this day. Yeah. So they just kind of took that sound and they just kind of redid it and refined it, and then they've stuck with that for the same time. Saxon has a song for this album in one of the Grand Theft Auto games.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Which so people might have heard it from that. Yeah. It's been in a few video games, but it doesn't have anything that I would consider a hit, if you will. But it does have Motorcycle Man, Freeway Mad. So it's got some really good songs on it. Street Fighting Gang is a really good song. But yeah, it's got some really good, fast metal songs, good guitar solos. Biff Byford, excuse me, was a great singer. Yeah, so Saxon's a great band. We've talked about Saxon before. We talked about their Stand and Deliver album, which is like, I think, one of their best albums.
Yeah.
But this is also a really good early Saxon record if anybody wants to listen to it. Then it came out this week.
Yep, it came out this time around the May of the 1980s. And I like their cover. The cover looks very like Motorhead style.
With kind of, it kind of looks like what do you call that? The German eagle thing.
Just had a bunch of balloons slide past you. That's fine.
Where did that come from? Well, I saw it too, like on my monitor. Like, why is there balloons?
Little hint there, brother. Maybe it is following you.
I don't know. I guess so. Yeah, it's it. We all float down here.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know why there are balloons.
Maybe maybe it's Alma. Maybe she is. Like, don't be talking about that Saxon there, brother. All right.
I know we're cursed because of Saxon. Yeah, I thought you did that. But anyway, but yes, Saxon, Wheels of Steel. Trying to make the balloons go again. I have no idea how I did that.
I don't know.
But yeah, Wheels of Steel from Saxon's a great album, a classic metal album. Check it out.
Yeah, we'll play some at the end for our podcast listeners here.
Yeah.
But everybody check it out. And Alison, do you think the mighty John Saxon, do you think he was a big fan of Saxon?
Saxon? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
Maybe when he's on, when he's taking his shirt off, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
playing a little bit, rocking out.
Definitely. I mean, he definitely looks like. I mean, he was built. He definitely looks like he could have been a Saxon fan.
Pretty sure he was rock. Maybe he should have played some Saxon for Barbara. She would have been okay then.
Mm-hmm. That would have solved her. Heavy metal solves everything.
Exactly. All right, everybody. So let's get into who booked this shit.
Who booked this shit?
Here. All right, Beyond Evil.
Mm-hmm.
All right, remember, it's evil that's beyond itself. It's more evil than you'd ever see.
It's more evil than evil. Yeah, it's more evil than evil.
So we have director Herb Fried.
Yeah, Herb Fried's made some good movies.
Yes.
This is not one of them, but he has made some good movies. He made a movie called Haunts that was really good.
Yes, Haunts.
Yeah, and he made Graduation Day.
Yes, which we have done on this show before.
Yes, so we've done another Herb Fried movie. Graduation Day was way better than this.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, that was actually one of the solo shows I had to do.
Yeah, I know. Sad.
But there is link to Graduation Day from this movie, which I found on here. Let me pull it up on here. It actually has to do with the girl who played Barbara, Lynda Day George.
Yeah.
All right. It was another pretty famous actress at around this time as well, too.
She was on Mission Impossible.
Yes.
In the 70s.
So what it says is director Herb Fried got along so well with Lynda Day George that he cast her husband, Christopher George, in his next film, which was Graduation Day, 1981.
Yep. The next year. She went on the next year to make the Graduation Day. Probably almost exactly a year later.
Exactly. I liked Graduation Day. I think that was pretty. It actually was a really good slasher school film for its time.
Yes. Yeah. I wish I could have been on that show. That was a good movie. Yeah. Christopher George was also on Mission Impossible, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So a couple things about this film. There's not a whole lot of back knowledge about this film. It was later released by Troma, which releases a shit ton of stuff. Very rare 1980s stuff on there. That's the film. That's the film that's on the Peacock right now. Is the Troma version. So it says when it was originally released theatrically in the UK, the BBFC made cuts to avoid an X rating.
Really?
What was so X rating about this shit? Okay. All cuts were. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the only thing I could think of is like that scene at the end with the little girl and the thing coming out of her stomach.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know how that.
In UK, they show tits and everything on there.
Well, they don't, but they kind of stray away from gore and violence.
That's true. So all cuts.
It's not nudity that usually gets them.
Yeah, all cuts were waived in 1993 when the film was granted a 15 certification for home video.
Okay.
So when you got it on home video, you get to see all your gore.
And you get to see all the
laser
gore and
laser
green
green
eyes.
Yes. Laser green eyes on there, brother. All right.
Wow.
A couple other things. So the production, the photography began on August 27th of 1979 in the Philippines, like you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at the random island of the Philippines. Even though it looked a little bit more Samoan tribe stuff there, though. Am I wrong about
that? That's in a sort of a similar. It's a Pacific Island.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're Pacific Islanders. So yeah, that's similar.
So the scene that took place in the hotel restaurant, it was filmed at the Seven Seas restaurant in Los Angeles, California. So there you go, brother. I wonder if it's still open.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we can research that in a minute.
Yeah, let's see. I'll look it up right here.
The Seven Seas restaurant.
Yeah, the seven. Actually, yeah, it looks like it is. What? I mean, I pulled it up over here. So yeah, Seven Seas restaurant. Doesn't send me where it's at though. Let me see if I can look it up a little differently.
In Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, in Los Angeles. Yeah, the Seven Seas restaurant. It just brought me to their website, but it doesn't tell me where it is.
It's in North Hollywood.
Yeah. Aegean Seven Seas Smokehouse.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of cool that's still open.
So you can, yeah,
there we go. A lot of that stuff is though. A lot of that old Hollywood shit's still open.
Yeah.
The Mexican restaurant, what's it called? El Coyote.
Yes.
That Sharon Tate and her friends ate at the night that they were murdered by Charles Manson's family. That place is still open. Like you can still go eat there and still sit in the same booth that they sat in.
That's crazy. And you can go here. This is the scene where they were watching the Islanders dance, and this is the scene where Barbara's like, "Well, he's good in bed, isn't he?" That's all I remember from that.
Which is weird because the whole scene where they're doing the Islanders like native, like what I call the luau scene, which is the scene in that restaurant, was actually not filmed in the Philippines. It was filmed in Los Angeles.
Yeah, there you go, man.
But
maybe it was it was Islander month at the restaurant.
Because I was going to ask you, like, I've never been to the Philippines or know anything about the Philippines, to be honest with you.
Well, we've been here on the Retro Blood a couple times.
Well, we've been there a couple times on the Retro Blood. Mm-hmm. But was anything reshot in California, or was the whole movie, other than that one scene, shot in the Philippines?
It doesn't really say, but I'm going to guess most of it was, if they had to do reshoots, most of it was probably in California. But like,
for sure,
yeah. But
they're not going back to the Philippines for that.
Yeah.
If this movie could even afford reshoots, is up for debate. But because the scene near the end of the movie where they're in the cabin,
yeah, with
the witch doctor or whatever, that there's like pine trees and shit around. Like that doesn't look like the Philippines to me. Not that I've ever been there, but it just doesn't look like the Philippines, but whatever.
If I was to guess, because I couldn't find information on it, but that mansion and stuff where they were mostly filming in, I would have guessed that's mostly probably in California where they were filming that.
Maybe, yeah.
So, it also says, upon its release in California, the film grossed a total of $251,000.
Wow.
Over 3 days, screening at 56 theaters. So, like I said, it was a battle between this and Friday the 13th. Gee, I wonder which one won. Okay.
Yeah, gee, I wonder what it could be.
So, the film that won the rewatch was this. Like I said before, this was distributed by Troma on DVD on September 24, 2009. The film was also released on Blu-ray. That's probably the version that we watched on the Peacock, which you can watch it now. So,
yeah.
But, you know.
Troma. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Good. I was gonna say Troma is like one of those companies. Like I respect Lloyd Kaufman a lot.
Yes.
I just think that the vast majority of the movies that he's produced over the last 50 years are total shit, like unwatchable shit, with a few exceptions. One of them being Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD. But he does love film, and he does save movies that we would never see otherwise.
Yes.
like this one. Like, so he saved this movie from obscurity. Now, you could debate over whether we really needed to watch this movie or not, or if anybody ever needs to see this.
This is the most evil, beyond evil stuff there is.
But it is a piece of film history that would have been lost had it not been for Lloyd Kaufman, who saved this. So I think that's really cool, and I like him for that.
Yeah. Before we get into the whole breakdown of Beyond Evil, we will explore the evils of Beyond. I want to talk about a couple of the actors and actresses on here. Yeah. We've already talked a little bit about John Saxon, even though like we've done a shit ton of his movies on here already. I mean, he's done a lot of shit.
Yeah, he did a lot of movies like right around that time too. He did another movie that we did on the show, Cannibal Apocalypse.
Yeah, Cannibal Apocalypse.
A few months ago in the archives. He was in that. He did that the same year.
Yep.
He was also in Battle Beyond the Stars this year, which is a great sci-fi movie that John Cameron worked on. He would go on to be in Blood Beach.
Yes, we're going to be doing here pretty soon.
We're going to be doing,
hint.
Going to be doing.
Tenebrae.
Tenebrae. Yeah, we did Tenebrae. He had just finished doing Enter the Dragon.
Yes.
With Bruce Lee, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he was a martial arts student. I don't know that he was Bruce Lee's student, but he was a martial arts student, and you could tell in that there's one scene in this movie where he's about to do his like judo thing.
Yeah.
And he's about to like judo somebody, and he just goes into this judo stance. I'm like, yeah. You can tell he just did Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, buddy. And of course, he was on the very first Retro Blood, because he was Lieutenant Donald Thompson of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh yeah, of course. One of his most famous roles.
Yes. And just a bunch of shit, man. Nightmare Beach. I mean, this guy is like a horror guy. You know what I mean? A B horror guy. For sure. So, but I thought this guy was pretty interesting too. The guy who played Dale, Michael Dante. Apparently, he was also known to be a former minor league baseball player.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
So he never got to the major leagues, but he was more famous as an actor than he was as a baseball player, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And and after this, he would do like The Big Score. All right.
And then, he was in Winterhawk.
Yeah.
Great Western movie.
So pretty cool stuff. And of course, our main girl, Barbara, like I said before, Lynda George on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hold on. My shit just went away. Lynda Day George. You know what I mean? Like I said, she was in that Mission Impossible. All right. She did a couple things as well, too. Most of the stuff in the early 60s and 70s. But around this time, besides doing Beyond Evil, she did Fantasy Island.
She was on Fantasy Island, yeah.
So she did two island movies in the same year, brother.
Well, Fantasy Island, the gimmick that Fantasy Island had was that it only had Ricardo Montalban and the little guy, I can't remember his name, as the only regular cast members. So Fantasy Island was a show. I remember we used to watch Fantasy Island all the time when I was a kid. But Fantasy Island was a show where these people would fly to this island that Ricardo Montalban ran. And then all of these like fantasy things would happen to them. Like it would either be like really terrible or really good. And then they would experience these things and they would get on this plane and then fly away. So but every week there would be different guest stars on it. And she was one of the guest stars that was on it. So she wasn't on it all the time, but she was on it like an episode or two, I think.
Yeah. Looks like she did a lot of TV shows, most of that Fantasy Island one. So, but yeah, pretty cool stuff over here, I'd say. You know, pretty well acted cast. Storyline, a little rough, I would say. So
yeah, there wasn't a lot of story in this.
So, but we'll break it down for you, everybody, because the Retro Blood is about to enter the evil island of Beyond Evil. It's too evil to be evil. It has to be beyond itself.
It's so evil. It's beyond. It's not even evil anymore. It's beyond evil.
It's beyond it. So.
We're beyond evil. Whatever is past evil.
Yes.
That's where we are.
That's where we are. That's where we're entering right now.
Roll a trailer.
Beyond evil is a terrifying journey. Beyond life. Damn you die! Beyond death. Beyond evil.
You need that house like a hole in the head.
It's a little goodwill. For more than 2 centuries, the evil within Casa Fortuna lay dormant.
What he means is the place is supposed to be haunted.
It's all a legend.
Everyone on the island knows. Alma Martine lives.
It's changing, don't you realize? What strange force possessed the husband, John Saxon? The wife, Lynda Day George.
I want my wife back. I don't care what it takes.
The lover, Michael Dante. Leave that place now, before it's too late.
As long as your wife remains within her reach, she's in danger of contamination, possession.
Beyond evil.
All right. So we start off the film with some like jacked Samoan Philippines dude doing some fire magic. You know what I mean? Where they do that little fire thing with the chain.
The thing where they swing the fire thing around. Yeah,
on there. So like at first glance, like I thought we were in like a Samoan island, and I was like, "Is that a young Rock on there? The hell's he doing here, brother?" You know
exactly.
what I mean?
How old was The Rock in 1980? Like
probably like 15, maybe. I don't know, 12.
No, I bet he wasn't that old. Maybe. Yeah, he probably was. He's probably like 12 years old. Yeah. True.
So that guy's now and then while he's doing all that, his face transformed into those like that evil tribe devil mask. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
scary. It's terrifying.
Yes. So now we are seeing some more tribal people. All right. So now we're seeing some islanders, and they're about to have a wedding. Okay. And they're doing like wedding games on there. Where they're doing like the little foot over. You know what I mean? Little bouncy foot game.
Yeah, whatever that is.
You never played that before? I play it all the time, brother.
No.
You bounce and you go on the sand and, you know what I mean?
I'm glad you do.
So they're doing all that. And then the girl, she decides to be a little frisky where she just runs away and teases her man. All right. But then she runs and she goes into beyond evil land. All right.
She goes beyond evil at this point.
She goes beyond evil.
Yeah.
All right. And she sees our mansion over here.
Yeah.
Okay. And man, my hair's all crazy, man. Hold on a second. Maybe my hair's beyond evil. All right.
It certainly is.
So she goes to like this like white mansion, right? And we see who we're going to find out his name is Alma. She's in the window. She vanishes. And then she drops a pillar on her arm.
Oh, no.
So, you ever had a pillar drop on your arm there, Alison?
Yeah, it hurts. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't drop a pillar on your arm.
Is that beyond evil? Like,
yes.
What have been just evil?
Well,
maybe dropping like a stick on her arm. Is that evil?
Yeah.
But this is beyond evil.
It's beyond evil at this point. Yeah. But yeah. Well, we're gonna get beyond evil at least.
Yeah. So now, when this all happens, now we meet our main cast. Okay. So we have the great John Saxon, tan, ripped like always. All right. We have our girl Lynn, all right, playing Barbara, his wife, John Saxon's wife.
Yeah.
And then we have their friend Dale, played by that minor league baseball player guy.
Right.
Okay. So the big thing about this whole story is basically that Dale and John are in business together. Okay. So they're going to build a bunch of condos on this island, and they're going to get rich off it by selling the condos off.
Okay. Yeah. John Saxon is he's an architect.
Yes.
And he's designing the condos, and they're supposed to move into a condo, right?
Well, they're supposed to move into like an apartment, basically, because he basically, since he's working there, he wants to live there. But his wife at the time, she is into the finer things, so she cannot just stay at some regular hotel or some shitty place. She needs a nice stuff. Okay.
Yeah, right.
But one of the jokes was when they're getting the luggage was, oh, I see you don't have that many Louis Vuitton bags.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Because she's changing.
Right.
She's different now.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
So now they're getting into the cab, and the joke is that the wife has so many packages that she forgets one. I forgot one of my luggages. All right. Even though she has like 10,000 luggages and stuff. And so,
well, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the joke, right? Like the woman always overpacks and she packs a million things, and
yes,
and guys don't pack anything. We travel in a backpack, which is actually kind of true for us. We mostly do travel in a backpack.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I gotta bring a backpack and a suitcase, but that's only if I'm bringing my stuff or not.
Yeah. So. Who needs clean clothes?
Exactly. So while they're doing that, this is when Barbara meets Frank. All right, Frank is not only the doctor on the island, but he's also in on helping finance the condos because he wants to make it
convenient.
Rich. Exactly.
How convenient.
So now they're driving, and Dale makes a joke about Barbara basically being a gold digger. Okay, and Barbara gets all pissed at it, and you can tell that there's now tension between there's tension between Dale and Barbara. Okay, they just have a little tension between each other. And then, of course, Larry, the great John Saxon, is like kind of like the middleman between their drama with each other. Okay?
Right, but we don't know why yet, right?
Yeah, we don't know why. Well, the only thing we could see is it's just because Dale, he's just been making a bunch of gold digging jokes with her. So she's like, she doesn't like
and
that.
And we find out why a little bit later. But anyway, we'll continue. The people will find out when we get there.
Yes. So now the apartment that Dale promised them is not ready yet. So he has them stay at this Richie hotel. Okay. And Larry is just like, hey man, if that apartment's not ready, I'll find something else. He's like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's ready. It's getting ready. I just got to finish the last couple things. So now they go up to the hotel, and now our girl Barbara is complaining because there's not enough space for all her stuff. And
oh no.
And Larry's like, well, this is the bridal suite. All right. And then she's all like, it's not good enough. All right.
Not good enough.
Why do
larger room from all my shit?
It's like, why do we always need to accommodate Dale? He said that apartment was ready months ago. All right. So we can see there's more shit going on over here. So this is when we have Frank meeting with this banker guy who had like one of the deepest voices I've heard. All right.
That was amazing.
And banker guy suggests, like, the banker guy is giving out the loan to him because he knew his father. And basically he doesn't want to give him this loan because it's kind of like a ridiculous amount of a loan. And he doesn't know why he wants to buy this mansion. All right. He's like, that mansion just going to be a headache on you. But Frank needs to get it done. Because Frank, he's basically given in to Dale's demands because Frank invested into the condos. So when the condos sell, he'll get a cut of them. And he'll make it rich.
Right.
Even though he's a doctor. So I guess he's not, I guess in this island, a doctor doesn't make jack shit. Okay.
Well, I mean, doctors make a lot of money, but they're not rich. Like, this guy wants to be rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So then, all right. So now Larry and Dale and Frank, they meet outside the construction build. All right. And this is the time where it's very windy, so we could barely hear what they're saying at the time.
And why would we do any voiceover in the studio? We just record in the wind.
Just record in the wind, man.
Audience will fucking figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Don't worry about that shit, man. Okay. So now Larry is asking about the apartment again. All right. Dale's like, get off my back about it. Don't worry about it. You'll get it. Okay. He's like, don't worry, man. I'll find one if you need to. He's like, no, don't worry about it. I got you. All right. And then they all agree, Frank and Larry and Dale, they all agree to have dinner together to talk about, more of the construction stuff. Okay. So now we see a scene of Frank walking through the streets. All right. We get some street shots, which is always really cool. We see like this Islander dancing routine. Okay. And now we just go right back to the bar, and Dale is saying something about like scamming, and then Barbara just shouts, well, he's good in bed, so that should be enough.
Ooh.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Which is a hint for something that comes a little bit later.
Yes. So now Frank shows up. All right. Apologizes that he was late. Meets everybody. Of course, he met Barbara at the airport. I guess, okay, so the Frank character is a little weird. Because when he met Barbara at the airport, he gives her a bag. He's like, I was watching you. And she was like, cool with it. She's like, oh, okay, you're watching me. It happens. All right. And he gives her back the bag and everything. And then like this evil music happens. But he doesn't do anything evil. So basically, Frank is another one trying to flirt with Larry's wife.
I was a little confused by this too. I'm guessing that's what that is, or was that like what do they call it, a red herring, where you think it's something and it's supposed to like make you think he's the bad guy, but he's not.
Yeah,
maybe I guess. I never thought about the scene again because they never really mentioned anything about this guy. Not maybe about being evil.
Maybe it's because Barbara is the only blonde on the whole island, and brother, in 1980s, those blondes were taken over. All right.
One thing I did notice about this movie is supposedly this takes place in the Philippines, but there are very few, if any, Filipino people in this entire movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the cops are white.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know, and like everyone working on a construction site is white. Like there are no Filipinos in this entire movie, as far as I know, except for the people in the luau scene, which was filmed in California.
Yeah. So now Frank gives John the loan money. All right. And this is when they start asking a little bit about the apartment again. And then Dale says, well, I got something even better than that. Check this out. So he gives him the papers. And he said, instead of giving you guys an apartment, I have bought you a mansion here on the island. Because I love you guys so much. And they're looking at the papers and everything. And then Larry's like, okay, well, what did you get me into? Like, this fucking house is going to be like the rent's going to be high as shit. And he looks at the papers like, oh, what the hell? This shit's cheap as fuck.
Yeah, which should be a red flag, number one, right?
Yes.
Anytime, that's like the horror movie thing, right? Anytime the house is cheaper than it's supposed to be, it's fucking haunted. Just like in Amityville Horror and all the other movies, just like that. If the house is a good deal, it's fucking haunted.
It's fucking haunted. So they go to the house, right?
It's no different. Yeah.
So they all agree to go check out the house. All right?
Yeah.
So they all go to the house. It's the same white house with that pillar fell on the girl's arm.
Yeah.
All right? They all walk in. They all check it out. Pretty nice looking inside the house and stuff. And they all start talking, right? And Dale just says, well, the reason this house is so cheap because, supposedly it's haunted.
Supposedly.
All right? It's haunted. So that's why we get a little bit of a cheaper rent on here. All right? And then they start asking, what is the story? If I may.
Oh, you may.
The story. All right. So basically, this house it hasn't been lived in for 100 years.
Okay.
Nobody has set foot on this property for 100 years. That's right. There's been no homeless people here squatting at all for 100 years. Okay.
None.
So that's why Dale said it took a little while to get the renovations going because nobody's lived here in so long. Okay. And the story is that this mansion had I guess the mistress of the mansion was Alma Martin. Okay. And the story with her is she, at the time, from her dad, got into an arranged marriage because there was this big ship sea captain guy named Esteban. Right? And he was a big he wasn't a pirate, but he was like, a ship captain. And they kind of arranged this marriage where, since Alma's parents, they owned kind of some of the shipping routes.
Yeah.
When he married in, he basically got those shipping routes. So she was all excited to be married to kind of like this prominent ship captain. But what she didn't know was the ship captain liked to be a little unfaithful by gathering up some whores.
No kidding.
All right. So she was all upset about that. And he would treat her bad because he didn't really want to get married. He just wanted the ship routes. All right. He still wanted to be his little whoring self. Yeah. All right. So during all that, that's when Alma decided to do some devil witchy magic.
That's how you get back at them every time.
Exactly.
Do the devil shit.
And I was just like, you know what? And then I like how they explain it, where yes, she dabbled in witchy magic and she became an expert right away.
Yes.
Would it take her a week?
It takes no expertise to become a master in evil devil magic. None at all.
So I was like, okay, well, what is there a school to go to? You
don't even need a school, man. You learn it in one day.
But where did she find the books? Was it on the island already?
Yeah, there's a used bookstore for ex-magic users. And she
everywhere?
Just goes there. Yeah. Well, because it only takes one day to master it, right? So you buy the books, and then you master it in one day, and then you sell them back to the used bookstore, and then the next person comes along and gets them and masters it in one day, and then sells them back.
But did she
only
order
have one set of books? No, they're at the used bookstore.
Where did she get
you just buy them again?
Where did she get the devil doll? Did she make it?
I don't know where it looks like it because it's made out of paper mache. So it looks like she made that in about one day too, about 35 minutes.
So apparently, after she mastered this dark arts of devil magic, she now started to control her husband a little bit. All right, and he didn't like that. He's like, "Why are you dipping into all this magic and shit like that?" Oh, by the way, when I'm saying all this, we get a reenactment, which is fantastic. Okay?
Yes. Yeah, we couldn't just tell the story. We have to see it too.
Yes,
we have to show a reenactment.
I appreciated it. So they're on there, right? And but basically, I couldn't believe this. So he was getting devil magic on, but then he decided the secret to reverse it. All he had to do was kick out the whores and start loving his wife, and that solved everything. That's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But our boy Esteban was a little decisive. He pretended to love his wife. He pretended to go along with it. And then one night, he tricked her by giving her poison. Saying, "Witch, I finally got you. I gave you some poison." And then she croaks out. And he was going to go back to whoring. But before he was, the body rose. Because the evil witch devil magic turned Alma into some sort of green 1980s negative Star Wars ripoff thing. Okay. And she took him and choked him and killed him. And now she haunts this place. So if anybody ever lives here, they now get their body possessed by Alma. All right.
Yeah. I love how movies during this era, if they want to show anything scary, they always turn it to negative. Negative is the scary thing, I guess. So yeah. So now we know why the house is haunted.
Yes, so that's why the house is haunted now. So of course, Larry and Barbara kind of laugh it off. Frank's like, that's just a legend around here. But the native girl that was with them, which was Dale's date, she's like, "No, it's real. Alma's alive. She's here." She storms out, and they're all leaving, and Dale's like, "Fuck it, bitch." So then they kick her out, and then Dale goes up to Larry. He's like, "Okay, you still want to stay here? All right, are you sure it's not going to be scary? All right." And then Larry's like, with these prices, nothing's going to scare me. Capitalism, baby. I like it. All right. All right. So now it's the next morning. Larry and Barbara, they're all happy to be there. And then they hear a noise and somebody just throwing their luggage around. All right.
Who could that be?
And they look at it and they're like, oh, well, we got told that the natives are kind of mean around here. I thought that was pretty funny. All right. So they now Larry's going to bring up a piece of luggage. But green, negative, hits one of the staircases and he falls down. And then we can see that the devil doll falls as well too. So it smashes him. And we can see that Alma is now starting her ritual of possessing. And her main thing is trying to possess Barbara. That's the main thing that she's trying to do. All right. So now Larry wants the doll out. And of course, Barbara, she agrees with it. So basically, Barbara, in this whole film, which you all will see, is half she's herself and then half she's Alma. So she's like back and forth. Like the whole fucking movie, they're just back and forth. It's not until like the very end where she actually gets fully developed. I mean, it takes this girl. I guess you could learn witchcraft in a day, but to possess somebody, it takes a little time.
It takes a little while. It takes a little while to learn.
You know what I mean? So now we're at Larry. All right. So now Larry sees Dale and Frank talking about shares. So basically, Dale used a lot of their shares on something, and Frank's mad about it because he has no money now. All right. And Dale's like, well, just get over it. All right. You just got to live with it.
You just got to deal with it now.
All right. And then we could see that Larry's like, what's going on there? I was like, oh, Frank, he's just greedy. All right. All right. So basically, Frank isn't going to get any kind of money until the actual condos sell. So in the meantime, he's broke, even though he's like some fucking doctor and shit. Okay. Right. So now we have Larry's coming back to his house. All right. All in the dark. And by the way, this dark scenes are nothing like the fucking Island of Blood dark. I mean, this is how you do dark scenes. We could actually see shit.
Use lighting. They actually use lighting. You can tell this guy knew how to make a movie.
Yeah, so I appreciated that. It's like, thank you. Thank you for actually letting us see you. Okay. So now they figure out they have no electricity. Okay. And right when you're like this, Alison. Right when our boy Larry walks in, Barbara's like, we got no electricity, but that's okay. And she takes his shirt off.
Ooh.
For the lady. Boy, this movie is for the ladies, brother.
Yeah. We don't hear that a lot, but this one is.
Yeah, we got John Saxon, all man, hairy, tan, jacked brother on there. She's making some dinner, right? And they kiss. All right. And then she gives him some dinner clothes. All right. And then they're all like, are you hungry? He's like, yeah, I'm hungry. They stare at each other. And then they go up to go fuck. All right. But we don't see no fucking on this one, though.
No, there was no nudity in this at all. Yeah. Which is weird.
Well, all we needed was John Saxon without a shirt on, brother.
Exactly.
All right, that's all.
I guess that's the closest we're going to get this time.
All right. This is for the 18 to 34 women. All right. We're finally giving them something. So we have the Alma looking evil. And she's slowly, again, taking over. If you guys want to take shots, you can. So every time I say Alma is slowly taking over Barbara, you can take a little shot if you want to.
Yeah.
So she gets taken over. And then the next morning, they figure out not only do they have no electricity, but they have no gas. All right. Barbara didn't sleep well. She doesn't want to be touched this time, even though she was fucking on him last night. All right. And now she is feeling that she's not herself. She feels weird now. And of course, but she did say, I'm still going to make you a dinner with a fantastic dessert.
Wonder what that could be.
Could be something with pie.
I have a feeling it's
maybe
definitely some pie.
Maybe some cream in there too, brother.
Maybe.
All right. So now Larry is So now Larry, he goes past his gate. You see some workers on his gate. He's like, who ordered this? All right. And this is when we meet the doctor, Solomon. Okay. Yeah. And his doctor was a doctor. His daughter Layla.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
So they said they've lived here for many years, and they are healers. Okay, so they're not necessarily doctors; they're healers. They're faith healers.
Yeah. Well, he could also be a doctor, but yeah. True.
We said he was a faith healer.
He is a faith healer. Yeah.
If you have evil demon possessions on you, and you have evil cancerous tumors, you're faith healing.
Dr. Solomon.
Yeah, you call it cognitive. He will faith heal you out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So they talk about that, and of course, our boy Larry's like, I don't believe in all that hocus pocus stuff. All right. And while this is happening,
They never do.
While this is happening, everybody take a shot. Barbara is being possessed from the green fog, and she eventually stabs her hand. Okay.
Yeah. Alma caused her to stab herself.
Yes. And while this is all happening, Larry hears it, so he rushes back. Okay. And then he eventually brings her to the hospital. Even though they find out about Barbara, she hates all hospitals and doctors. They didn't really say why, but she just doesn't like them. She doesn't trust them.
Well, because if she went to the hospital, we might have figured out what was going on quicker. So we can't go to the hospital.
So while this is all happening, this is when we found out that Frank is a doctor. I just thought he was some sort of... At the time, before we found out he was a doctor, I thought he was just some sort of greedy dude that wants to fuck Barbara. All right? So now he's saying it's just a cut. But Larry's like, well, she was bleeding all over the place. And I was like, I didn't see that. Is that the rough cut? I didn't see her bleeding all over the place.
Yeah, I didn't see any blood at all.
All right. By the way, I think it was in Tenebrae. Was it the one where they cut off the girl's hand and she started gushing blood all over the walls?
That is Tenebrae. Yeah. And then like he did
maybe
those of blood.
Maybe John Saxon was thinking about that movie.
Maybe. Even though he hadn't made it yet.
He hadn't made it yet. He was thinking about that. All right. So now Frank says, well, I did this other test on her. It was an emotional test. All right. Larry's a little confused by it. All right. And now he's basically saying, like, listen, I think she's in an emotionally bad place now because of this Dale guy, because her and Dale don't get along. And I could tell that this Dale guy is kind of a shady dude. And then Larry's like, no, Dale's my friend and everything. And I know her and my wife don't get along, but I don't think he's the problem. I think you're trying to project your feelings onto us, because obviously Frank and Dale are at odds right now.
Yes.
Okay. But he's like, okay, well, I got this test coming and you can check it out a little later. So now they leave. Barbara's not sure what happened, but she feels great now. All right. And Larry's going to make a call, all right, to tell him how everything's going. And this is when we see that Barbara has an A on her hand. All right. For Alma. You get it?
For Alma. Yes.
I got it, everybody. A for Alma. Okay.
Yes.
Because she is being possessed very slowly. Okay. And then she just leaves. She gets out of there.
Very slowly.
So Larry leaves, can't find her and all that stuff. And he's looking all throughout town. And then he finally comes home and he finds her. So it's raining out there. Barbara does not want to go back at all to the hospital, because Larry said, like, well, we can go back to the hospital tomorrow and figure out your test results. And she was like, test results? I don't want to go back to any hospital. I don't trust hospitals. I don't trust doctors at all.
No.
All right. She begs and she cries. All right. And he wants to know, basically what the hell's going on with her. 1 minute she's all cool and 1 minute you're all freaking out on me. Welcome to women, brother. All right. Yep. All right. And then he's about to have some wine. We see a flashback of the scene of Alma getting wine from her husband, Esteban. And then she freaks out a little bit, and now she wants to go to sleep. All right. So now Larry's, he basically, Larry leaves, and Larry leaves her kind of sleeping. And this is when we have Alma's ghost appear, like Star Wars. And she starts to possess her slowly. Okay?
Yeah, her force ghost appears.
Yes, her force ghost appears in this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we still have the evil doll. He's still around.
Yep.
All right. And there's some more flashbacks. Frank shows up And this is when Barbara was basically in the house by herself. Frank shows up, said the door was open. Frank wants to talk a little bit about this house. Okay. And she's like, "Oh, I'm kind of busy today, so I really don't want to talk to you." All right. And then Frank says, "Well, I would love it if both of us got a little closer together." Because, he kind of wants to fuck her. And she's like, "Get on out of here." All right. And then she's like, "Okay, well, that might be a great idea. Call us later." As in her and her husband. Okay. So Frank leaves. Barbara decides to go outside. All right. She's walking outside. She sees Frank saying, "Hey, you better not go down there. That's where all the catacombs are." All right. That's where all that's the crypt, brother. That's the crypt area.
Where all the bodies are buried. Yeah.
Yes. So she does go down there. There's a sign that reads Alma Martin. Frank is leaving in his car. And this is when Barbara gets possessed again.
Oof.
You guys already, I think 4 shots already, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty, you're getting there.
We're going to get drunk before we're halfway through.
All right. So now, since Barbara's been possessed by Alma, now they're using her forced ghost spirit magic now to destroy Frank's car bit by bit. And eventually Frank's car blows up like a dummy before it blows up twice if you saw the cut.
It does. Yeah, it does.
So it blows up
amazing.
And then it cuts and then it falls off and it blows up again. This scene was pretty funny. Like, how did they do that?
I'm wondering if it was stock footage.
Could have been. It looked like
it. Stock footage of a car exploding.
And then there's an evil laugh while it goes off the cliff. All right. So now Leah, the daughter of Solomon, meets Larry about us saying his wife is in danger and she needs healing. And he's like, "Remember, I told you I don't like this hocus pocus. Wasting my time." All right. And then she's like, "No. All right. We're not wasting your time. You're wasting time."
Yes.
All right. And Larry leaves. And then, of course, Alma stares right into the camera. Like, did I do a good job?
Right. Yep. It's basically a third wall break, kind of is what it looks like. Yeah.
So Larry goes back to the hospital to get the test results. But the receptionist lady is saying, "We don't have no test results for Barbara at all." And he starts yelling, arguing, saying, like, "What the fuck? Where's the test results? Where's Frank?" They can't get a hold of Frank. 2 guards come in. Larry hits one of them and he leaves. And they dare not to tackle and kick John Saxon out because he's 2-man. All right.
Because he's a karate master.
Yeah.
He's a black belt in karate.
Exactly. He's just some kung fu in his ass.
He's good. Yeah, exactly.
Right? So now he arrives home now. All right. And so no, actually Larry arrives to the clinic where Solomon's at, and he watches Solomon do some of his healing magic. Right? Where this lady came in saying, the doctor's saying I'm going to die. And of course, the healer man heals her by his healing powers. All right. And of course, Larry talks to Solomon saying, "I love that surgery you did, operation you did." He's like, "Well, I don't do operation. I do healing." They don't need operations. They just need healing.
Yeah. They just need faith healing, witch doctors, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then they asked about his wife. And Solomon's basically saying, "You need to get your wife here now because she's a grave danger." All right. And he's like, "She'll never come here. I could barely even get her to a hospital."
Yeah. Right.
All right. And he's just saying, "Listen, if you want your wife, she has to come here. I will try to heal her." He's like, "Try to heal her." I was like, "Listen, man, you only got very limited time. So you need to try to somehow get your wife here because she's in danger." All right. All right. So if you see your, basically saying if your wife stays in the house, she's going to be in more danger. So now we have Alma. All right. Now Solomon tells his daughter that Alma is a dangerous possessor. Like, that's what she does. She possesses people. Okay. And then during this, while he's talking, we see some flashbacks of some island warriors doing some ritual shit. All right. And he's saying that basically there's very limited time. There's a very small window that I can break the ritual connection between the 2 of them. All right. So now Larry is asking, he's asking Barbara if they could leave this place. All right. And So now Larry arrives home, and his big thing is he wants to ask Barbara to leave the place. He sees her with some mask on, some thermal mask on. Okay, that kind of scares him, and
Which
he's like, yeah,
looked like just like a black hood or whatever on her face,
Yeah.
like just a black gauze cloth or something on her face. Was fucking hilarious.
So he's saying like the doctor was saying that you look tired all the time, and I think this place is bad for us. But she doesn't want to leave because it's their home now. Okay, and she's like, well, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm doing a lot better now. She just doesn't want to get rid of this home. She just wants to make everything right. Says, and then he's like, you know, he kind of agrees to her. He kind of like gives in to her. He's like, okay, I'll agree to stay here and, you know, see how things go. And then now we can see that her finger is starting to get a little puffy. All right. So we'll see that later on as well, too.
Ooh. Yeah.
So we're back at the build. All right. We see that Dale's doing some handshake with the banker guy. Larry's working on some of the equipment. Dale tells these guys to go move from the equipment, and while that happens, the equipment moves on its own, and it's about to crush Larry and this worker. But then Dale sees it, gets Larry out of the way, but this worker had some stuff fall on it by magic. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I like the scene. I think it's dumb.
Yeah.
But I like how like the spirit of Alma, I guess, just starts moving the things on the. It's not a fork. It's a crane.
Yeah, it's a crane.
Right?
Yeah,
It
takes
crane.
over the crane.
So
yeah.
they're moving the controllers in the crane, and I always think it's amazing how these ancient spirits always seem to know how to drive the crane.
Yeah, boy, they got their forklifting crane training.
I guess so. Like they have all the time in the
Certification.
world, so they just learn how to drive cranes and forklifts and things. So yeah.
Duh, come
But
on,
anyway,
man.
right. I mean, of
They're
course.
evil spirits.
What was
brother.
What was I thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking? All right, maybe that's their past life as a crane driver.
They were a crane operator.
Yeah. So this is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie, just because the dialogue was so funny.
No, this is
So they have Larry and Dale. They're back in the trailer, right? And they're all talking about, man, what a poor bastard that guy was. And then like the whole thing is basically it's like Dale's like, well, what's bothering you, Larry? He's like, well, you know, Barbara. She's like, 1 minute she's cool, the next minute she's just weird on me and stuff. All right.
It's almost like she's possessed.
Yes. And then Dale's like, man, I think you spoil her too much. And Larry's like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, check this out, man. The only reason I bought that mansion wasn't for you. It was for the please Barbara. All right? See, the problem is, like, let me tell you something straight here, Larry. See, the problem with these broads, all right? You buy them too much shit, and they keep wanting more. All right? And then Larry's like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, listen, brother, I know women. All right? You give them a little something, they just come wanting some more. You just got to cut them off here and there. All right? And then Larry's like,
cut them off at some point.
And then Larry's like, it's like, you don't know. You might know women, but you don't know shit about me and Barbara.
No.
All right? And Dale's like, listen, I think I do. All right? Bro, you can tell a guy wrote all this. I loved it. All right?
Absolutely.
So now John, he's like, now Larry is like, hey, I need to tell Barbara about this stuff, but I gotta keep working. Can you send somebody over there? And Dale's like, okay, well, don't worry. But I was thinking about going there myself, so I'll go tell her what's happening. Okay?
Absolutely.
So after that great dialogue of Dale calling all these girls gold digger broads, now he's gonna go over there and confront Barbara and tell her that supposedly Larry is okay. Okay? So he heads over to her house, right? This is another great scene. All right, he walks all up in there. It's like, hey, Barbara, you know, they do some small talking. And he's like, hey, let's go grab a drink. I need to talk to you about something.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes off and he's saying, like, I think I gotta lay off. Dale is telling Barbara, saying, you've been noticing that Larry's acting up a little bit? She's like, yeah. She's like, well, it's your fault. You've been acting all weird on him. All right? And she's like, what the hell do you mean and stuff? And so they start arguing a little bit, and she kind of like calls Dale like a, kind of like a piece of shit in a way, but nicer.
Yeah.
And eventually, Dale triggers her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now she starts being a little possessed. Now she's possessed. That's right, everybody. Take your 5th or 6th shot.
Slowly.
All right.
Possessed.
And now she changes. Now she's all like, hey, Dale, let's go grab some more drinks. He's like, well, I got to go back to work and everything, girl. She's like, oh, don't worry about it. He's like, now she starts to flirt with him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dale's like, he's like, 1 minute you're getting on to me. The next thing you're apple cider. All right. Well, you never said that? You never said that to a girl there, Alison?
No, that's probably where I'm going wrong.
Yeah, you got to say that. Like, 1 minute you're evil to me. Next thing you're apple cider.
You're apple cider.
All right. So she's trying to force him to drink a little bit. And he's about to drink his next drink. And then she knocks it out of his hand. And then she goes to kiss. And at first he doesn't like it. But now she starts grabbing onto her. And he's like, oh, Barbara, I didn't know it was all like this. So now Barbara wants to bring him upstairs. Okay. So she's trying to be a little aggressive. He's trying to back off a little bit because, this is his business partner friend's wife. Okay?
Exactly.
So he starts thinking like, listen, man, you're kind of crazy. Okay, you're Barbara. And I don't think we should be doing this. How about we just forget this all happens? So he opens up the big, window and everything. He's like, oh, let's just forget this all happened. I'll go back. I won't tell Larry at all. So now Barbara gets possessed again by the green Alma light. All right. And she uses her strength of all devil magic strengths of beyond evils. And she pushes his ass out the fucking window. And he falls and he tumbles all the way down to the forest. So there goes Dale. He's on out of there. So what a scene that was.
That was great. Fantastic. I love this scene.
So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yes.
All right. So we get some drama and we get some death at the same time. Okay. All right. And we could see too that Barbara's appearance has also changed as well. She's wearing like this, her hair is different, and she's wearing these mask necklaces on there too. Okay. So now we have Larry. He's showing up back at the house. He sees that devil doll again, takes it, throws it out into the pond. Okay. He hops in bed with Barbara. Barbara wakes up. All right. They're talking for a little bit. And he said like, oh, Dale didn't tell you what happened? She's like, no, I haven't seen Dale in forever. He hasn't, I haven't seen him in a while since we've been here. Okay. Sure. And he tells her about the accident that happened on site, but he's okay. And she's like, oh, that's crazy. I saw that same thing happen in my mind. All right. And like I said, she hasn't talked to Dale in weeks. And basically, they're basically saying like they're both going to love each other or please love me and stuff no matter what. Okay. So now it's the next morning. They're making food. Larry asks a little bit about Dale. He hears the voice that says Dale's gone. All right. And then Barbara asks like she didn't say anything like that and they didn't hear it. All right. So now Larry is on his job site again. He's looking for Dale. There's no more Dale's now anywhere on the job site. He's trying to figure out where she's at. He comes back home and he sees that Barbara is possessed again. What's that, like 7 shots already? Bro, you guys are fucked.
Yeah, you guys are fucked up.
In the fire, and he stops her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, man, this possession, it takes a while, brother. This ain't no quick possession, okay?
No.
This ain't no Evil Dead. Okay?
No, it's no Evil Dead. It takes a while to get to laser eyes.
Well, remember,
we're getting there.
Alma's only had 100 years to practice. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So now Larry sees Barbara's finger because it's getting out of control. Remember from earlier? Now it's super puffy and stuff. All right. And now Barbara thinks that something awful happened to Dale. All right. And he's like, well, you can't really, take care of this stuff. I want you to go to the hospital for this. She's like, oh, no, don't worry. It's going to be a lot better. Okay. So now Larry's talking to Solomon about the... You like this one, everybody.
I love this.
So Larry's talking to Solomon, And so, and he's like, yeah, my wife has like this like huge buffy, puffy finger and stuff. He's like, that is where she's trying to possess her at.
Through the finger.
Through the finger. That is all where all this ritual is coming through, is from that big giant finger. Does that work like that?
I don't know. I thought the whole concept of this was hilarious, where she's like, it's like her finger keeps getting swells up and around where her wedding ring is or whatever, I guess. And then he's like, oh, that must be it. That's where she's being possessed by the spirit of Alma.
That's the pinpoint.
Yes.
Okay, is the finger.
Yeah. We're just going to have to cut the finger off, I guess. I guess that's the solution to this.
So they're saying, okay, well, we're all trying to heal her and stuff. He's like, try. He's like, just bring her here. I told you we'd have a little time. And this is when he tells his daughter again that we only have a very limited time to trap her. And this is when the daughter looks into the camera again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now the finger's gotten really bad. And like Barbara's plan of her finger being puffy and looks like a monster is to wash it off with water. That'll work.
Yes.
So
they'll probably fix it.
So we have a cut scene. We have a couple of scenes here where basically Larry sees the big ass finger and now he's going to force Barbara to go to the healer's house. And while this is happening, the daughter, Alba, she sneaks into the mansion to try to take care of Alma herself. Okay. So we have this whole cutscene, and basically what happens is the daughter goes into the room that opened up. Alma appears in her Force Ghost self.
Yep.
Full of green 80s light. And she uses her Cyclops green eyes to destroy the daughter, turn her into ash.
Well, doesn't she electrocutes her, right? Like she shoots her with the laser beams.
Yes.
Well, no, she doesn't shoot her with the laser beams. She shoots the lamp, and then there's electrical cable that shoots up and like becomes like a snake and like electrocutes her, and then that's where it turns her to ash.
Yes.
Because that's what happens if you get electrocuted. You turn to ash. Apparently.
Turn to ash, brother. All right. And we do find out too from Solomon that Alma can do two things. She can just kill you quickly, or she can do something even worse.
Even something beyond evil.
Beyond evil. She can possess your finger.
Yes.
That is beyond evil, brother.
That's beyond evil.
Come on now. All right. So now, while this is all happening, Barbara at first was like, she didn't want to do the hospital thing, but she was kind of agreeing on it a little bit. But then right when the daughter dies, that's when Alma takes over. Again. Shot number 8. She takes over Barbara. They go watch the healer. The healer is getting something out of this kid's stomach. But of course, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, so this scene actually I thought was cool.
Yeah.
This is the coolest part of the movie. So I'm guessing, like, they don't explain it, but I'm guessing he's like removing like a tumor or something from this girl's stomach.
Yeah.
While she's still alive, or not still alive, but still awake. And it's just like this bloody mass coming out of her cut open stomach. I thought this actually looked pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically what happens is he's healing her, but Barbara is using Alma's dark evil magic to rip it out of her quickly.
Yeah.
And then she says, "This is barbaric." And then she leaves.
Yeah.
And then Solomon looks on like, oh, shit. All right. So now Solomon, like, he obviously looks all worried. So now we're back at the house. They're back at the house again. We get more ritual sounds that Larry hears. He walks around. No shirt. All right.
Yes, of course.
Get that 18 to 34 women demographic up. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's really strange. I've always thought it's really strange that John Saxon was a sex symbol.
Yeah.
But I guess in 1980 he was.
Look at this guy, ripped, hairy man.
You got to consider this is before Tom Selleck. So
yeah, exactly.
He's probably like he was a sex symbol for his day. Yeah.
That's probably where half the 251,000 came from, was all women. All right.
Probably.
That's all they wanted to see, buddy. All right, so he sees her at the bar on the table, and he feels her like, oh, you're like ice. All right, and he's like, I think you should go to sleep now. She's like, no, so he asked him to leave. All right, and she basically says like, too, like you're never gonna, you ain't gonna find the Dale because Dale's dead. All right, and Larry's a little bit
Dale's dead.
So then the next morning we see this police officer with like the craziest looking mustache. You see that thing? He's like,
that was great.
All right.
Yes.
He has a super heavy voice.
He'd be like a hipster today.
Yeah. And they basically needed Larry over there to ID the body, and of course it was Dale. Okay. And Larry's talking about how like him and his wife knew Dale really well, and the cop's like, okay, well, apparently he could tell that the body flew from that window. So he's like, okay, well, it looks like he was at your house yesterday. And Larry's like, no, he wasn't at my house yesterday. My wife said he hasn't seen him for weeks. All right. He's like, okay. And then the cop's like, okay, well, can I come by later and talk to you and your wife? And he agrees because he thinks there's something shady about that.
This is the cop with the safari hat?
Yeah, the safari hat cop, yeah.
That was great. I love that. I love the safari hat cop.
So now Larry goes back onto site, and this is where the banker guy's there.
Yeah.
All right, and he shows up, and Larry's like, Dale's dead. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, the guy's like, well, where is everybody? He's like, Dale's dead.
Yeah, Dale's dead, and they can't find Frank. Okay. Right. And then the guy's like, oh, shit. It was like, well, you're next in line. I need you to sign these papers. And Larry's like, I signed that shit, brother. That shit's cursed. And he gets on out of there.
That was classic. He's like, well, I don't care if they're dead. I just need you to sign these damn papers.
Yes.
And Saxon's like, fuck you. I'm getting out of here.
All right. So now he comes back home. All right. And I swear they used like the scene twice. Where he shows up on his Jeep and he's wearing the same blue shirt. All right. And he comes at home and now he sees his wife, Barbara. She says, I can't fight anymore. She vanishes. All right. He's like, oh, shit. All right. And then he goes up there. He says he wants his wife back. He goes to Solomon. He's like, I need my wife back and stuff. And Solomon's like, okay, I got a great idea. So they go get some explosive stuff. Okay. So now their plan is they got the explosive stuff and they go to Alma's grave. That's open.
And they're gonna blow up Alma's grave.
Yes. That's what they do.
Problem.
They take the dynamite stuff and they blow up her grave.
Because of course that would solve the problem, right?
Yes. And of course, while this all happens, Barbara is being possessed again for the final time. All right. The ring falls off of her finger.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Barbara is saying, come meet me, Larry. So they all meet. Barbara is all in green. All right. And Barbara is about to laser Larry with her green eyes, but Solomon saves him. Okay. And then now we get the big speech from Alma, a.k.a. Barbara. She's talking in echo. You destroyed my prison. I have a new home.
Yeah, because that's terrifying, right?
You destroyed me. This is beyond evil.
It's so good. It's fantastic.
I'm about to do my green eyes.
It would have even been better if they did it that way instead of putting echo on it and that's how to repeat the words.
I know, exactly.
They faded out.
All right, so now Alma does her green eyes. All right, doesn't work. Solomon grabs the ring, gives it to Larry. All right, Alma she's like flying, like she vanishes and then she goes in the next room and then she like one of her powers is just like have flying objects at them, so they start doing flying objects. But then Larry grabs her hand and he puts the ring of power onto Barbara's hand. And this, because of the everlasting love and determination, has now beaten Satanic's powers away. Okay?
He beat beyond evil.
He beat beyond evil. The way to beat beyond evil is to put a ring on it, brother. All you've been out there.
Which makes sense because that's what got us into this mess to start with, right?
Yeah.
Like Alma's husband cheated on her and didn't really care about her, but John Saxon loves his wife, and now it saves us all.
He saves us all.
Love.
So so now Alma and Barbara, they split. All right. So now the evil Alma is pissed off at Larry for loving his wife because she never got that love. So she grabs him and starts choking him out, but she has no power. And Larry is a expert kung fuer, so he knocks her a little bit. She falls down, and she starts to decay.
I thought this scene was really cool. I watched it several times to see if they fucked up the continuity, but they didn't. Because it was that cheap effect where you make a prop and you lay it on the floor and then you photograph it and then you leave the camera in the same place and you replace it with a different prop.
Yeah.
To do the decay effect, which is how we would do it if we were going to do a scene like that because that's all we could afford. But apparently that's all they could afford too. But it actually looked pretty good for what it was.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so.
Yeah.
So then they start both crying because they just escaped beyond evil. And then we see that devil doll is burning.
Yep.
And that's the end.
And that's it.
That's it, everybody.
Then they live happily ever after, we presume.
Yes. They live happily ever after until John Saxon decides to go with some other broad because you can't keep a man like that down, brother.
No.
All right.
Him and Tom Atkins should have made a movie together.
Oh my God. The women's out there in 1980 could not have handled that, brother.
Oh,
you might as well.
Fantastic.
You might as well just
the cops. Oh man,
bro, you might as well just shut the theater down. You brought a woman to that, brother. You're guaranteed to be laid that night.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? She might not be thinking about you, but you'd still be there. All right, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's Beyond Evil. I thought it was okay.
What a month. It was okay. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It's
not my favorite piece of filmography that we've ever done on the Retro Blood, but
you don't say.
It was. It's better than some of the other ones we've done this month.
I wonder if Spasms would have been better. I haven't seen that movie.
It was hard to find, so I couldn't. We'll try it some other time and for another category. See if we can find it. Yeah. But everybody, join us here as we finish up Killer Island Month next week here on the Retro Blood, because we are going to finish off the month with American Gothic.
Yes.
Right? Here on the Retro Blood. And of course, on that episode, we will give you the whole April schedule as well. So,
I've got something planned for that. That's going to be amazing.
It's going to be a good month. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
For here on the Retro Blood.
Yeah.
But yeah. Beyond Evil, everybody. If you like John Saxon without a shirt, if you like laserly green eyes, if you like some drama, this is the one for you, I'd say. So, pretty fun.
Yeah, and if you have the Peacock, you can watch it with your subscription. So
True. Pull it on.
It's worth sitting.
Yeah,
it's not a terrible movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's not terrible. It's worth sitting through. We've done worse movies on that.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But Alison, what Saxon song are we gonna give our podcast listeners as we jet on out of here?
Let's leave out of here with Street Fighting Gang.
Ooh, Street Fighting Gang, brother.
Yeah.
Because the Islanders, brother. There's some Street Fighter gangs. Maybe they should have got that in the house. That would have took care of Alma's problems.
I think so too. Yeah. They should have. Maybe if they'd gotten local people involved that knew about this evil island magic, they could have helped them earlier.
Yeah, it could have helped them a little better.
Instead of only relying on white people for this entire movie.
Exactly.
But yeah. Anyway.
There you go, brother.
Great.
Gotta get some of them street actions on there. It would have been a lot better.
Yep.
But everybody,
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us here on the Retro Blood. Check us out. Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, all that stuff. Rate us on there. Show us some love on here. Show us some love on the YouTube, because you can see our pretty little faces here each week here on the Retro Blood.
Send us some email.
Yeah, send us an email, retroblood69@gmail.com. Like us on the Facebook, the Instagram, so you can get all the news about the show on there as well. Like us. Give us some love on here. Keep the Retro Blood flowing. And we will see you here next week with American Gothic. J.H. Alison, James Kline. See y'all later.
See you guys.